Most people think money runs the world. But in reality, the world runs on information. And for over 200 years, no one has mastered information better than the Rothschild family. This name is more than just a lineage, it is a secret financial operating system. A symbol of ultimate luxury. And the target of thousands of the wildest conspiracy theories in history. But in 2026, the veil of secrecy is being lifted like never before. From powerful women stepping out of the shadows to hold the scepter, to heirs who choose to save the planet instead of hunting for gold. Today, we won't just talk about gold bars or private banks. We will dive deep into the source code of power, how the Rothschilds preserve their legacy, adapt to the storms of history, and why they are the true masters of the long game. Chapter 1. The world doesn't run on money. It runs on information. Most people mistakenly believe that money makes the world go round. In reality, the world runs on information. In the early 19th century, while governments were preoccupied with guns and cannons, the Rothschilds were quietly building their own primitive internet. Not with fiber optics, but with the fastest horses, the most loyal couriers, and flocks of highly trained carrier pigeons. Imagine an era where battlefield news took weeks to reach the capital. But with the Rothschild network, it took less than 48 hours. In business, being just 24 hours ahead of your competitors is the line between becoming a billionaire and ending up penniless. This was history's first end-to-end encryption. The Rothschild brothers communicated using archaic Hebrew mixed with complex family codes. Even if their letters were intercepted by secret police, they appeared as nothing more than meaningless characters. They understood one thing. Information is only valuable when it is exclusive. The 1815 Battle of Waterloo is a classic testament to their information asymmetry strategy. While all of London held its breath for the result, Nathan Rothschild already knew Napoleon had been defeated through his private network. Instead of buying immediately, he executed a spectacular psychological trick. He pretended to sell off, causing market panic as people thought Britain had lost. When stock prices hit rock bottom due to the crowd's fear, he quietly swept them all up. The lesson here isn't about fraud. It's about how they turned information into the most valuable asset. The Rothschilds never gambled with destiny. They mastered information to predict the future. To this day, the philosophy remains intact. They don't need to be the wealthiest names in the headlines. They just need to be the first to know what happens next. Because in the game of power, money is the effect, while information is the cause. Look at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. This was more than just a military milestone. It was the Big Bang of modern finance. As soon as the cannons fell silent on the Belgian fields, Nathan Rothschild in London knew the outcome even before the British Prime Minister. He didn't just rely on pigeons. He owned a fleet of fast ships stationed at seaports and couriers ready to gallop through the night to deliver the news. The real drama lies in the fact that Nathan didn't rush to buy and reveal his hand. Instead, he executed a legendary psychological performance. That morning, he leaned against a stone pillar at the London Stock Exchange with a somber face, without saying a word, and began selling small amounts of stock. The crowd began to whisper, "If the Rothschilds are selling, it means Britain has lost." Fear spread like wildfire, and stock prices plummeted. And at that darkest moment, while everyone was fleeing in panic, Nathan quietly ordered his secret agents to buy back everything at rock-bottom prices. In just one morning, his fortune multiplied tenfold. But the lesson here isn't about cunning, it's about the power of information asymmetry. The Rothschilds proved that in a game where everyone has money, the one who holds the information first is the one who rewrites the rules. They turned information from a supporting tool into an ultimate weapon in the financial markets, setting a standard that global finance still operates by to this day. Chapter 2. The Art of Manipulating Trust. To understand the longevity of the Rothschild empire, we must look at the real asset they accumulated. It wasn't gold, but trust. Let's travel back in time to the cramped Judengasse in Frankfurt, a place where the Jewish community was marginalized, forbidden from owning land, and locked behind iron gates every night. Here, Mayor Amschel Rothschild realized a harsh lesson: if you lack political power, you must become indispensable in terms of value. Mayer didn't start with multi-million-dollar deals. He began by weaving his way into the elite through rare ancient coins. But in reality, what he was selling wasn't pieces of metal, but rather discretion and privilege. He understood a deep psychological truth about the aristocracy. They didn't lack money. They lacked people discreet enough to manage their financial secrets and massive debts. Mayer built a trust operating system by accepting record low profit margins. Sometimes even working for free for Prince William of Hesse-Kassel, the wealthiest man in Europe at the time. All for one title, court factor. This was the ultimate trading profit for reputation strategy. When Napoleon invaded and the prince was forced into exile, it was Mayer who risked his life to hide and move millions of pounds for his master. While other bankers fled or betrayed their clients for personal gain, Mayer's absolute loyalty turned him into a human vault. The result was that after the war, the Rothschilds didn't just get their money back, they received unconditional mandates from the highest holders of power. They proved that in a world filled with betrayal, loyalty is the highest valued currency. They didn't beg for the protection of the throne. They made kings realize that without Rothschild's services, their thrones would collapse due to financial shortages. From outcasts, they became the lenders to kings. The trust built by the Rothschilds didn't stop at gold vaults, it was elevated into a shadow empire. They understood that among the elite, secrets about debt are even more sensitive than political conspiracies. By managing the black books of dynasties, the Rothschilds became unshakable. You can change a government, but you cannot erase a debt that only the Rothschilds know how to handle. Look at the Suez Canal deal of 1875. When the British government desperately needed £4 million over a single weekend to buy control of this strategic canal, a massive sum that even the Bank of England couldn't mobilize in time, Prime Minister Disraeli only had to send a note. Lionel de Rothschild had the money ready right at his dinner table. Why? Because he didn't need red tape. He operated on a system of trust validated over decades. The Rothschild's speed was the ultimate manifestation of absolute trust. To protect this trust operating system from external leaks, the family established a harsh protocol, endogamy. Throughout the 19th century, more than half of Rothschild marriages were between first cousins. It may sound strange in this era, but from a risk management perspective, it was the only way to ensure that business secrets and assets never left the bloodline. They didn't just build a bank, they built a biological fortress where betrayal was impossible. The Rothschilds turned discretion into a jewel of power. They didn't boast, they didn't appear in the press, but they were present in every breath of the global economy. They taught the world a costly lesson. True power doesn't lie in loud echoes, but in whispers within closed rooms, where trust is the only thing that can unlock the future. Chapter 3. Style Rothschild, when luxury becomes a weapon of power. If chapters 1 and 2 were about shadows and secrets, chapter 3 is where the Rothschilds step into the light with unprecedented splendor. They didn't just want to be wealthy, they wanted to redefine what wealth truly meant. In the worlds of art and design, there is a distinct term known as Le Goût Rothschild, the Rothschild taste. It was a blend of the opulence of French royal palaces and the modern comforts of the 19th century. They built estates like Waddesdon Manor and Mentmore Towers not just as residences, but as heavy-duty marketing weapons. When a politician or a king stepped into a Rothschild mansion, they didn't just see gold and silver, they saw a standard of living that even they aspired to. The Rothschilds turned luxury into a psychological barrier. They didn't need to wear a crown to be treated like kings. Look at how they moved into the vineyards of Bordeaux. The acquisition of Chateau Lafite in 1868 was not merely an agricultural investment. It was a VIP ticket to the most important dinner tables in the world. When you own the wine that every emperor wants to drink, you are no longer a beggar, you are a grantor of privilege. Rothschild wine became a form of cultural currency, allowing them to socialize with the elite without saying a single word about finance. This strategy was incredibly brilliant. They used hard power, money, to create soft power, culture. By becoming the greatest patrons of art and owners of the rarest collections, the Rothschilds ensured their name was synonymous with ultimate excellence. They taught the world a lesson in brand positioning. If you want to sit at the table with the most powerful people, create a world that they themselves want to belong to. The luxury of the Rothschilds didn't stop at gilded furniture or prestigious vineyards. It was a comprehensive, psychological encirclement strategy. While other tycoons used money to show off, the Rothschilds used money to set the standard. Their estates, such as Waddesdon Manor, were essentially a theater of power. Here, they didn't just invite the elite to dine. They invited them to be overwhelmed by the scale and depth of a legacy in the making. To understand this calculated extravagance, look at Walter Rothschild. Instead of riding thoroughbred horses like every other aristocrat, he drove a carriage drawn by 4 zebras right to the gates of Buckingham Palace. This wasn't the act of a madman, but a subtle message of power. We have the ability to tame even the wildest parts of nature. The Rothschilds created a brand of eccentric genius, leading the world to believe they possessed secrets and capabilities far beyond the sight of ordinary men. It was this Rothschild style that turned them into history's first influencers long before the concept existed. From the arrangement of a Renaissance art collection to the way a glass of wine was savored, the elite across Europe watched and imitated them. By occupying the leading position in culture, the Rothschilds built an invisible layer of protection. When you are the one creating the rules of elegance, you will always be the winner in any negotiation. They didn't just hold the world's purse strings, they held the dreams and aspirations of the most powerful people. Chapter 4. The Billionaire Scientists. When you have all the money in the world, what do you buy next? The Rothschilds' answer was, the secrets of creation. While their billionaire contemporaries were obsessed with yachts, the Rothschilds used their wealth to fund expeditions to the ends of the earth. They weren't just bankers, they were history's greatest collectors of knowledge. They understood that true power lies not just in controlling cash flow, but in mastering the understanding of the natural world. The most iconic figure was Walter Rothschild. Instead of sitting in a bank office, he transformed his estate at Tring into a massive private museum with over 2 million bird specimens and hundreds of thousands of insect species. Walter didn't just look at them. He hired hundreds of scientists to scour the planet for new species and name them Rothschild. As a result, hundreds of plants and animals bear the family name. This was a form of intellectual territory marking when your name appears in biology textbooks. Your legacy becomes immortal, far outlasting the value of gold coins. But the pinnacle of Rothschild intellect has to be Miriam Rothschild, dubbed the Queen of Fleas. She was a brilliant scientist who proved that Rothschild blood flows not just through financial figures but through profound academic research. She authored hundreds of studies and became the first woman elected to the Royal Society of the UK. The Rothschilds taught the world a lesson in longevity. Money can be lost in wars, but knowledge and academic status are things no one can confiscate. They transformed their family into an intellectual archive for humanity, where wealth was merely a tool to serve endless curiosity. There is a compelling question. Why would a family holding the financial lifeblood of all Europe spend decades classifying flea species or studying bird behavior? The answer lies in a vision far beyond profit, the immortality of knowledge. The Rothschilds understood that physical assets, gold bars, grand estates, or banks, could all be seized by war or revolution. But what has been inscribed into scientific history under the name Rothschild can never be erased. Science became the ultimate safe haven for their legacy. Look at Victor Rothschild, a figure who epitomized this 20th century transformation. He was not only a brilliant biologist at Cambridge but also an intelligence and strategic advisor to British prime ministers. He proved that scientific knowledge provides a kind of intellectual leverage that money can never buy. When you possess the deepest understanding of the world's structure, from the cellular level to the geopolitical stage, you become powerful in an entirely different way. The Rothschilds didn't just own banks, they owned the most elite minds of the era. This is the core of their adaptability. While other wealthy dynasties crumbled because they couldn't hold on to their money, the Rothschilds evolved to hold on to influence. They turned lavish mansions into research centers and private collections into archives for humanity. In doing so, they created an incredibly resilient, soft power. Even as empires fell and world maps were redrawn, the Rothschild name remained, not as mere creditors, but as leaders in humanity's quest for knowledge. Chapter 5. The 200YEAR Security Protocol. Most financial empires collapse according to the same script: the fragmentation of assets over generations and the infiltration of outsiders. However, the Rothschilds established an extremely harsh security protocol to defy this law. In his very will, Mayer Amschel laid down ironclad rules. Only male descendants were permitted to run the business. And while daughters could marry into the aristocracy, they were strictly barred from holding decision-making power within the bank. This wasn't mere discrimination, it was a wealth defense strategy to prevent power from being diluted. To reinforce this firewall, the Rothschilds practiced a method that shocks us today: endogamy. Between 1824 and 1877, out of 58 marriages among Rothschild male descendants, 36 were between first cousins. From a biological standpoint, this was risky, but from a financial risk management perspective, it was genius. It ensured that blood and gold always flowed within a closed loop. Not a single penny, not a single business secret, could leak out through marriages to strangers. This system functioned as a primitive biological blockchain, where every family member was a node authenticated by bloodline. Loyalty wasn't built on fragile legal contracts but on the undeniable bonds of kinship. The Rothschilds turned their family into an impenetrable fortress, where betrayal meant ostracizing oneself from the flow of history. It was this ruthless discipline that allowed them to preserve their vast fortune through 2 centuries of upheaval, while their competitors slowly vanished into oblivion. But even the most formidable fortress becomes a tomb if it lacks windows to breathe. Entering the 20th and 21st centuries, the Rothschilds realized that the security protocol, based on bloodlines and male dominance, had fulfilled its historical mission, but was no longer enough to withstand the volatility of the digital age. They took the boldest step in family history, opening the fortress gates. This shift didn't stem from weakness, but from a genius adaptation strategy. They began inviting the world's finest minds, those who did not bear the Rothschild name, into senior leadership ranks. But make no mistake, they weren't selling control, they were leasing intellect. This is how they transformed a family business into a global entity with just enough transparency to survive on the stock market, while retaining the core discretion of an ancient lineage. The decision by Rothschild & Co. to go private in 2023 was a masterstroke to reconsolidate absolute family control. The crux of this evolution was the shattering of the glass ceiling for women. While 200 years ago, Rothschild women were mere pawns in diplomatic marriages, today, they are the ones at the helm. From Ariane de Rothschild to Hannah Rothschild, they haven't just inherited wealth, they've inherited the risk management mindset. They bring a fresh perspective, diplomatic softness coupled with extreme decisiveness in modernizing investment portfolios. The Rothschilds have proven that the strongest security protocol is not locking oneself in the past, but knowing how to select the best of modernity to fortify the ancestral legacy. Chapter 6. Battle with the Ghosts. Every great empire is accompanied by a ghost, and for the Rothschilds, that ghost has haunted them for over 200 years. There is an ironic paradox: the harder you try to become invisible, the more the world weaves stories about your presence. The Rothschilds are more than just a family, they have become an archetype for all fears of a shadow government ruling the world. From being accused of starting wars and controlling every central bank to wild rumors about space lasers, why are they always the sole target? The roots of these ghosts stem not just from wealth, but from a toxic combination of anti-Semitism and the family's extreme secrecy. In 1846, a French journalist under the pseudonym Satan wrote a pamphlet filled with lies about Nathan Rothschild manipulating the Battle of Waterloo. That book became history's first fake news, spreading across Europe with lightning speed. Instead of speaking out to correct it, the Rothschilds chose silence. They believed the truth needed no explanation. But they forgot a fundamental rule of communication: if you don't tell your own story, the world will write a horror script for you. As we enter the digital age, these ghosts haven't disappeared, they have merely evolved. Social media algorithms have transformed ancient prejudices into modern conspiracy theories. But if we look deeper into crowd psychology, we find another truth. The world loves to believe in the Rothschilds because it helps them explain complex events in the simplest way possible. Blaming a mysterious family is much easier than facing the chaotic nature of the global financial system. The Rothschilds have paid a heavy price for their privacy. They must live with ghosts they can never fully exorcise. True power always comes with a curse. And for the Rothschilds, that curse is immortality through rumors. As we move into 2026, the Rothschilds have realized that the shield of silence is no longer enough to protect them from the information storms of the 21st century. Today's ghosts are no longer just fabricated tales of aliens, but actual leaked documents. A prime example occurred in early 2026, when records detailing business ties between Ariane de Rothschild and Jeffrey Epstein became public, forcing the family to confront an unprecedented crisis of confidence. This was the moment where the ghosts of the past collided head-on with the harsh realities of the present. In a world where every secret can be exposed with a single click, the Rothschilds executed a strategic pivot: selective transparency. Instead of fleeing from the media lens, powerful figures like Ariane and Hannah Rothschild have begun appearing in rare interviews. They no longer deny everything. Instead, they choose to reframe the narrative. They shift the focus from who we are to what we are doing for the world. This is a masterstroke in reputation management, using the tangible values of the present to overshadow the ghosts of the past. This battle with ghosts has taught the Rothschilds one final lesson on longevity. Reputation is not something you own, but something you must constantly defend and restructure. They have understood that in the digital age, the power of invisibility is dead, replaced by the power of legitimacy. By facing the cracks, acknowledging mistakes, and fiercely modernizing their image, the Rothschilds are working to strip away the mask of terrifying legends to become a symbol of resilient adaptation. The red shield still hangs, but no longer to hide dark secrets. Rather, it protects a legacy learning to survive in the broad daylight. Chapter 7. The Rise of Soft Power. If the 19th century was the era of Rothschild men and national debt contracts, the 21st century marks a quiet revolution: the rise of powerful women. The Rothschild fortress, which remained closed to women for 200 years, is now led by minds that are soft in approach but razor-sharp in execution. Ariane de Rothschild is more than just a CEO, she is a symbol of rebirth. Upon taking over the Edmond de Rothschild empire, she boldly declared, "The old private banking model is dying. We must adapt or face extinction." She shifted the focus from mere asset management to impact investing. The modern Rothschilds no longer ask only, "What is the profit?" but also, "How does this investment change the world?" This is a stroke of strategic genius. They are transforming mistrusted wealth into a resource for solving global issues. By focusing on sectors like sustainable agriculture, healthcare, and clean energy, they are building a new, protective armor through legitimacy and business ethics. But the most fascinating shift belongs to David de Rothschild, who completed an incredible historical loop. While his ancestors grew wealthy by financing the Industrial Revolution, coal mines, and transcontinental railways, David chose to build a ship named the Plasticky out of 12.500 recycled plastic bottles to cross the Pacific. This wasn't a whimsical trip, it was a message of atonement and adaptation from the family. They're telling the world, "We helped build the industrial world, and now we will help save it." The soft power of the Rothschilds today lies not in what they can buy, but in what they can preserve for future generations. The Rothschilds' shift toward soft power is, in reality, a calculated move to maintain legitimacy. Look at Ariane de Rothschild, a woman not born into the bloodline, yet its fiercest protector. She understands that the world of old money, with its closed rooms and backroom deals, is over. To survive, they must become useful in a way that the public can accept. She settled long-standing internal disputes over the Rothschild name and unified the branches to create a cohesive, modern voice. Under her leadership, banking is no longer a cold money-making machine but a tool for impact, where profit must go hand in hand with sustainability. Meanwhile, Hannah Rothschild, daughter of Jacob Rothschild, has chosen to solidify power through culture and knowledge. As the first female chair of the National Gallery in London, she has turned the Rothschild name into a symbol of erudition and the preservation of human heritage. This is a form of priceless reputation insurance when your name is synonymous with artistic masterpieces and national cultural institutions. It becomes much harder for any political movement to attack you. Finally, consider the fascinating paradox of David de Rothschild. If his ancestors provided the fuel for the Industrial Revolution through coal mines and railways, David is the one working to clean up its aftermath. His voyage on a ship made of recycled plastic is not just an environmental manifesto. It is his way of completing a legacy loop. The Rothschilds are proving to the world their incredible capacity for self-correction and evolution. They are no longer just money lenders. They are striving to be architects of the future, where intellect and environmental empathy are the new currencies. They have transformed themselves from targets of hatred into leaders of contemporary values. Chapter 8. The Red Shield in the 21st Century, The Legacy of Adaptation. We have traveled a long journey from the dark streets of Frankfurt to the heights of global financial power. So, what is the true legacy of the Rothschilds? The answer lies not in billions of dollars or hundreds of castles. That legacy is a source code of longevity that this family has painstakingly built over 7 generations. In 2023, a symbolic event occurred. The family decided to take Rothschild & Company private, delisting it from the stock exchange. This was not a step back, it was a strategic homecoming. They chose to abandon the glitz of public markets to return to their ancestors' core value: absolute privacy and sovereignty. The greatest lesson the Rothschilds leave us is this: money is the effect, while intellect and adaptation are the causes. They have survived revolutions, 2 world wars, the collapse of empires, and the purges of Nazism. Their secret isn't clinging to gold bars. It's knowing how to let go of outdated models to embrace new values. From using pigeons to transmit war news to using AI for risk management, from financing coal mines to building ships out of recycled plastic to save the oceans, the Rothschilds always know how to stand on the side of the future. Concordia, Integritas, Industria, Harmony, Integrity, Industry. The motto on the Red Shield is more than just decorative words. It is an operating system that helps them maintain unity among hundreds of members in a global network. The Rothschilds of 2026 are no longer a single individual or a lone bank. They're an intellectual ecosystem. They don't need to own the world. They only need to be the ones the world turns to whenever the wisest counsel is needed. The Red Shield still hangs, quiet and resilient, reminding us that true power does not lie in temporary echoes, but in the ability to survive and evolve through every storm of the era. As the world enters the era of artificial intelligence and absolute digital transparency in 2026, the Rothschilds once again prove why they are the masters of survival. Their true secret has never been about how many gold bars they accumulated, but rather how much they dared to change to preserve that legacy. From the powerful patriarchs who held the financial lifeblood of 19th-century dynasties, the scepter has now passed to women with a more humanitarian, flexible, and sustainable vision. This is not just a change in leadership, it is an ideological revolution. They have shifted from extracting the world's resources to becoming the ones who preserve them. The Rothschilds of today are no longer a terrifying ghost in outdated conspiracy theories, but a testament to the power of collective intelligence. The greatest lesson we can learn from them is not a formula for becoming a billionaire, but how to build a cognitive operating system capable of self-correction and overcoming any global upheaval. Money may be the effect, but adaptability is the cause. The Red Shield remains quiet and steadfast amidst the flow of time, not to flaunt power, but to remind us of a fundamental truth: in an ever-changing world, only those who know how to evolve while holding onto their core integrity are truly immortal. The journey of the Red Shield has not ended, it is merely beginning a new chapter, where intellect and empathy are the most powerful currencies of all. Thank you for joining us throughout this 35-minute journey as we peeled back the layers of the Rothschild family, the most enduring financial empire in history. Through this story, we've seen that longevity isn't a gift from destiny, but the result of painful choices to evolve and adapt. If these new perspectives on the source code of power have provided you with valuable lessons in mindset and management, please support us by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Don't forget to click the notification bell to be the first to join us in decoding the next great empires and elite minds of humanity. What are your thoughts on the Rothschilds' transformation in 2026? Leave a comment below. We'd love to discuss it with you. For now, goodbye and see you in our next exploration.